Hello, everyone. Good evening, Prague. I'm from Far East. I'm from Brno. And here I'm representing Slido tonight. And as you can see, the topic says analytics engineering practices at Slido. So if you ask me what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about analytics engineering practices at Slido. So that's, so for you to know what to expect. This is me. It's from the times when I was much cuter. Not that I'm cute anymore, but or that I was at any time, but I was cuter. And there's two things I want to mention here. One thing is, again, that's me, and I'm Michal, and I said that I think already. Never mind. And what I do at Slido, that's what I wanted to say. I actually do anything regarding analytics, help people in regards to data, but especially analytics part. And there is also a second reason why it's here, and that is to tell you a small story about when I joined Slido 5 years ago. There were some dark ages when it came to data and analytics in particular, because back then it was just CSVs and then put it in somewhere, and my everyday was basically like that. Someone came through direct message in Slack and was like, "Hey, Cookie." Oh, by the way, my nickname is Cookie, so sorry, I'm going to use that. So, "Hey, Cookie, I need X and Y." Perfect. No worries. We actually, back then, we used it like a really interesting drag and drop tool. And I just went in and, do this and do that, hit run, hoping that it would be amazing. Well, sorry, Cookie, silly mistake. Run again. Well, you delete everything, start again, run it. Mistake. Well, it takes a couple of iterations until finally you've got the report you wanted, visualize it, and then we were clever. So we have documentation. So we had it in Excel sheets. So we went to it was an Excel sheet to be completely frank. It was Google Sheet, so it was online. It was on cloud, which is cool now, but it was cloud even back then. So we did cool documentation in Google Sheets, and then I went back to the direct message to the person and said, that's done, amazing. But then was day 2. It was still the same. Another message. Cookie, this time I don't need X, Y, and Y. I need Z. Like, yeah, sure, no worries. I'll go and drag and drop and run and silly mistake and try and a silly mistake. Well, and direct message and it was done. Well, that would be amazing, but it was every single day, all the time. And after a while, I started, that was my feeling. I can't describe it in words. That was me every single day. And I started asking questions about my life and mostly about data as well. And I was like, did I miss something? When when they were actually when they're coming to ask me about those reports and data and definitions, like was it really correct, or did I make any mistake? And why did I do it that way? I had no idea. Yeah, there was documentation in Google Sheets, which was pretty cool. But I said that already, right? But I still asking myself these questions, and especially when there was something that I was at least a bit sure about. But they came back and was like, can we change that? Well, sure. Where is it defined, and what is defined somewhere else differently, and how do I do that? Can I break something with this change? Well, I don't know. Can we build on this? I was getting deeper and deeper, right, with these questions, and especially when I got to the last one, can I trust this? Can I trust myself? Can I trust the team? And then if I didn't trust myself, how could I ask the others to trust me? Yeah, I was really deep in that, and I wasn't sure. Honestly, wasn't sure. And then I realized, what? It's, even though it wasn't drag and drop, basically it was SQL behind it. And I realized, it's analytics code, yes, but it's still a code. Nothing else. That's been here for a while. That's, maybe you could use something. And I realized maybe software engineering is, they've been doing something really pretty similar with code. And maybe there's It's a cool, like a nice phrase. This untapped potential. And of course, I wasn't the first one to think about that. Even Marek, our data lead, who was mostly kind of driving that, he wasn't the first to think about that. It's been around for a while, and we kind of hit the wave with a couple of tools, and starting the wave of analytics engineering, which is basically a blend of data engineering and analytics and data analytics, and basically in between sits software engineering and software engineering practices. And we kind of went on that wave and started thinking about how we could apply these software engineering practices to our everyday work. And this was our answer. So from that, super sad cookie, I started being happy again. Because what we did is that if you've ever seen or talked to a friend that did anything close to software engineering, they might have mentioned some of these terms. So I'll explain later what these mean with examples. But just to quickly summarize, when now a colleague of mine has a question, instead of coming to me through direct message and everything what I mentioned before, they raise a ticket, send it to a Slack channel that goes automatically to a channel. It creates a task. Automatically, we use Jira for that. We do grooming on calls, like weekly syncs. We actually do grooming of these tasks and make sure that when we have them locked, we actually talk about how to solve them and what's the best way forward. And when we have that part done, then we go to code, because it's analytics code, as I already mentioned. And with that, we use PyCharm. It's especially useful for Python, but it's also pretty cool for SQL. So we use PyCharm and we have all the code in one repository, like one folder where all the SQLs and all the code, analytics code, is stored. So we do standard Git versioning, so we get history, and pretty cool. I'm using cool a lot today, sorry. Pretty nice tool is dbt. If you never heard of it, is data build tool, and basically takes care of the whole transformation layer. And also has documentation at the same time, and also testing, which is pretty nice. And then we use GitHub to do pull requests, which was already mentioned here before. CI/CD, which is continuous integration and continuous deployment. And then we have reviews within the team. And then when we are happy with that, and the answer is hopefully correct, we merge it to production. And then we have a nice dashboard afterwards. We use Apache Superset. Maybe this is all a bit theoretical, and maybe I was already boring you when I went through this. So let's start with some examples that might be a bit more interesting. So here we have, let me see if this works. Oh, perfect. So we have Tom here. I don't know if this is what I wanted to do. We have Tom here coming in and sending a really nice Slack ticket. What we are trying to do, by the way, we probably can't read it, but never mind. What's important, what we try to do is not, just them asking us questions. We actually try to guide them to think first, which is quite important, to think first and then, ask questions. Well, not all people can apply that knowledge, so we kind of try to push them to that, and we ask them, what decision they want to make. So we also have the business context, and they write out all these kind of stuff. It goes directly to, even has the link. So it directly has a link here and goes directly to Jira when we have the tasks. So there is a snapshot of all our tasks. Actually, it's from this Monday, so it's still probably up to date. And then we have this Jira detail for the task, where we can log in all the things who's designing, how long it took, some comments and everything. You can kind of connect it to a branch and everything with Git, which is pretty amazing. So that's where we then do the grooming. That's where the request and the question goes. Someone takes it, and the next thing we do, as I mentioned, because it's code, we go to PyCharm, and we open up the folder, the repository where all the analytics code lives, and we open, typically we need to update existing table, because we don't like to do things one-off. We'd like to have it long-term, so actually people then have self-serve analytics and kind of play around themselves. So what we do, we basically firstly adapt the SQL part, and what dbt is super great about, it also has in YAML files directly next to that, you have a YAML file which includes things like tests, documentation, owner, and you can have pretty cool details Again, I'm using cool again. Never mind. And then what's superb about DBT is that not only you can do all that, but you can also run it on your development branch and basic development schemas. You can test everything before you put it to production, and you can run all the models, all the tables that you have in your data warehouse on the branch that you are currently on. And you can also run all the tests. And you can also see that one of them failed. It was like from yesterday, so I made a mistake. Well, I fixed it thanks to that. And this is all done. Then you create a pull request. So you send it in, and you fill in all these details, which is pretty important to get the context for the reviewer, and tag the people that are relevant, give them some of the things, and then read it through. And what's important, we also have CI/CD pipelines in GitHub through GitHub Actions, and we can directly test some of the things. For instance, for DBT, we have DBT compile straight away running. So if there's a typo, like a small one, it directly fails, and you cannot merge it because you would introduce an error into production. So what's important is then this view, because that's where all the changes are. You've already seen that before. So it goes through a review, and you can make comments and everything, which is pretty great because you get the peer review from your friends or colleagues, sometimes friends. And what you've got, if you're lucky, you get all greens, so you can merge it production. You're happy, the code is updated, and what you've got is a nice dashboard. As I said, we kind of push in for self-service, where you just filter things and everything show up. So you get a dashboard updated, and also, this is just a view of some. It's not important anyway. So sum it up: ticket, task, grooming, and we do code in PyCharm and documentation together with testing, PR, some pipelines, review, merging, everything's in production, in dashboard. So in the end, instead of me crying over drag and drop and making mistakes and running it over and over again and trying to fix it in a really robust tool, I can actually use all these software engineering practices and get use of that knowledge that was already there. I mean, just applied it to analytics in a way. And what's best about it, at least from my side, is that it's super easy to scale. It's really hard to make. It's human. It's prone to human error, I'd say, because maybe you can still make an error, but at least you have more humans looking at the code, and a lot of things are automated, so it's super you don't have to think about it. The computer does the job, that's the way. There was a third thing, I forgot it, so you need to be fine with two. Anyway, what's next for us? We need to put into the pipelines the DBT run, which runs all the models, not just the compile, which is like a simple version of that. Great expectations, so better tests. We just have some simple tests. We really want to be better at that. And last but not least is making automations to the visualizing layer, which is automations in Superset. Well, that's about it. Thank you. I have 3 questions. So how do you nudge business stakeholders to think before sending a ticket/task? I would just point out one thing. It's not task straight away. It's Jira task, but we say no quite often. And I think, we're quite lucky in that sense that with our relationship with business, we say no when we understand the problem. Quite often there is a different solution that might be much better, and so it's a win-win situation. It's not that we always say yes and we just do the task in that sense. But when it comes to the story, it comes to the original question, how we nudge them to think before sending the ticket. It's hard. People don't like to think. I don't know about you, but well, sometimes. And what we try to do, we restructure the ticket. So even if you don't of course, we try to make sure that the culture is set up in a way that people think. That's obvious. That's hard to do. But something that it's easier to fix is that you can restructure the modal view when they fill in the details about the request. You can directly phrase it in a way they actually firstly we had it, what's your request, and until when do you need it, and why. And it was like that sequence. And now we completely turn it around. So why do you need it? What you've tried before? Where you looked before in our visualizing layer? And only then we're asking, so what do you think the data points are that might be helpful? We're not like, we are giving them like, think about it, what might be helpful, what you've tried before, instead of just, give us the data you need. And then we give them. Are you hiring? So I hope I answered the first one. Are you hiring? Asking for a friend. As Marek says, always. So, well, I'm replying to this one, but never mind. Yeah, we're hiring, of course. So you can free to come up to us afterwards, and happy to chat. And how do you structure your collaboration with business stakeholders to build impactful data solutions? Wow, impactful data solutions, and not get caught up in endless ad hoc requests. I need to read it once again. Sorry. So how do you structure your collaboration with business stakeholders to build impactful data solutions and not get caught up in endless ad hoc requests? I think I understand. I don't like to think anymore, but I think I got the gist of it. I think the important thing is that we try to, as much as possible, to get on one-to-ones with the business stakeholders and have regular conversations about the impact that we can make in the long run. Because we are here not for the short game, but we are here for the long-term game, long game, and we can always do ad hoc requests, exactly, and you can always, there's always operations to do, but that's not the way. And so we have regular conversations with them, and we push back a bit, and push back a bit more, and building up that trust, because we also need to bring these impactful data solutions, but when we bring them on a regular basis and we push back and say no, we actually get the space to do really cool stuff, and not just, I said cool again, the really great stuff, instead of just being stuck in the hamster wheel. So yeah, and shall I take the last one, because hiring was just more or less. So I'll take the last one as could you compare DBT and, for instance, answer that one. DBT, thanks, and SQL or Spark. What are the pros and cons? I'll just probably quickly just go for DBT and SQL just to explain the most important difference, and we can go in depth later on. I don't want to take more of your time. I would always describe DBT as SQL on steroids. What's super great about it, that it builds up on SQL, and DBT has that it introduces Jinja templating, which you might know from HTML or other programming languages. And so you can have SQL, but with ifs and loops and macros and functions and all this stuff, and even packages, open source packages, and everything is, it's not Python, but it's kind of Pythonic in that way, that you generate SQL through code, and it's just amazing. It's just, you can do much more and so much more with SQL on steroids with DBT. So, but of course, DBT is not just the SQL. It also has the tests and documentation and the transformation and all of that. But when it comes to language, that's probably the most important difference. Okay, hope I answered it all. And now I think it's a 10-minute break. Thank you.